We have more vacation rentals in Sedona than probably anywhere else in per capita in the U.S. We have something like 10,000 homes were built into a national forest. We have a lot more of our homes that have become those Airbnbs, which are great for business. We have 4 times the amount of restaurants that we did in 2016. Those things have added a lot of stress to our grocery store situation. You can see the Airbnb effect after a long weekend. I mean, if somebody wants to bake cookies inside of their vacation rental, they can't buy 8 ounces of flour. They have to buy the whole 5-pound bag. So then the rest of the people that live there, they got no choice, like, than left.
Nobody's born incredible. People who do incredible things simply took the right steps. This is our journey. This is the hunt for incredible. Welcome back to another episode of The Hunt for Incredible, where we tease out the mindsets and actions of people who have done incredible things so that you can apply it to your own life. On this episode, we have my man, Adam Goldberg. So Adam has a wide range of experiences in developing businesses and making impacts, mostly in real estate. So going through the list, we connected on social media because of one of his hotels called Creekside in Sedona. They have a great following. I highly recommend that you look them up and hop on their page. He also owns Sedona Construction Company, which is a development company. And he's also brokered over $1 billion in real estate transactions across California, Arizona, and Missouri. So I'm sure we're going to touch on a wide range of topics, and we're going to have a great time doing it. Adam, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's cool to be here.
Yeah. So just to kick things off, to set the mood and the vibe for anybody who's listening, Adam is currently sitting at his Creekside Inn in Sedona outside with perfect weather in the background. Adam, can you share a bit more about your property and how it's set up and how you bought it?
Yes. So thanks for having me on. First and foremost, I'm excited to share. We're coming live, or to your subscribers here from Sedona, Arizona. We're sitting, and we like to call fondly the outdoor studio here, which is right inside the creekside. We have water passing on one side. We're sitting amongst the trees. It's been a cool setting here over the years. We've had different people record, and we've had other various different podcasts related to food and beverage and business, entertainment. Sedona is an exciting place. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about it. And if you haven't, jump on and take a look. But we're amongst the Red Rocks up north here in Arizona. And we're within driving distance, not so far from Phoenix, but far enough that it's far enough away. But we do welcome a few million people a year to this small little town of a few thousand people that live here. And so we are a very special place in the tourism world, and we're really grateful to be here. So we're outside. It's fall. It's wonderful to be here. And thanks for having me.
Yeah, Adam and I were chatting briefly before the call. I'd passed through Sedona about 9 months ago, I want to say. A super spontaneous little trip with my wife. And it's one of the most breathtaking natural environments I've ever been in, where you climb these mountains, you overlook the scene, and it just literally you're at a loss for words. So an absolutely gorgeous area. So Adam, let's dive straight into your hotel deal. What did that acquisition process look like, and how did you structure the deal?
Well, this was quite some time ago, and we used the facilities with the U.S. government on an SBA loan, and that was really helpful at the time. Since that time, we've renovated our hotel, and Sedona's changed quite a lot along the way. We've given a fresh update, so we're also a bed and breakfast. We're really known for our breakfast program. And the breakfast offering, we started out about 9 or 10 years ago now, 8, whatever it was. I think it was in the beginning of 2017. There just wasn't a lot of similar offering for the things that we were doing. So it took a little bit of time to catch on, but we've been really grateful to do that. We've also taken advantage of a large space that we have behind us here. We're known for our weddings. We do a lot of weddings a year. We deliver a high quality product in a small town, which is hard to do. And we're really proud of those weddings that we do. And so those are the things that we've really been able to capitalize on. We've had a lot of things economically here that we didn't expect when we came in that have changed the climate to the way owning the business. So we've had to adapt and, might you say, amend to that. You can always plan for things, but other things happen.
Yeah. So what would you say is the driving factor for people who select your venue for weddings over others?
We're private. I mean, we have acres of land in the middle of Sedona, walking distance from famous landmarks like Talakapaki, and you can walk there. And then we have this oasis of creekfront property that I'm looking at, and I realize that I'm staring at it, but nobody's here. We have water. We're in the desert, and then there's a unique factor is that people like breakfast. Breakfast is an important thing, and then beyond that, you should get a value for what you're paying for. I mean, I understand that maybe some of your listeners are also involved in the hotel business, but we're here to deliver a product and we should deliver that. It's not just an idea. You have to get behind it and deliver that. And sometimes it's a lot harder to do that than it looks on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Oftentimes, food and beverage for hotels is a loss leader in exchange for adding ambiance and driving ADRs. Is that how your model is set up, or did you actually turn that food and beverage component into a profit center?
So we've been a bed and breakfast as the story goes. This is one of the original, if not the original bed and breakfast in town, dating back to when before Sedona was a city. So that's a
Wow.
long time ago. And so the bed and the breakfast have always been a thing together. We've stepped it up. So in the middle, we renovated the hotel and then we hit our stride right as we were hitting our stride, and we were making really good leaps and bounds in our ADR. You would say COVID smacked us in the middle of it. And at the beginning, that was something that was really terrible. And then being involved in the SBA, there were some certain advantages that came along with that. The US government did help along. At the time, the administration was, might I say, more than somewhat friendly to the hospitality industry because of obvious ties there. And so that helped out. But then instead of just crumbling by that, we decided to change our product and add more things. And so through COVID, we were able to thrive. And through that, some things economically changed here in Sedona. So food and beverage is not a different line item for us. We had originally designed to get out there and do that. I have plans. And as I can share, I also have the skills and the wherewithal to build that plan out. But sometimes, you get lucky, you don't do something and it works out properly. And that was one of those things where if we had built a big kitchen and bar 8 or 9 years ago, we would have been too far advanced for what Sedona's looking for.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sedona also has popped off really significantly just in the last 5 years or so, right? So I'm sure you've seen the game change pretty significantly since you first purchased the property.
A lot of people, myself included, have moved to Arizona full time from other states. So there's a lot of people. And when the trade happens, not for everybody, but for certain people, and then other folks on top of it, there's a use to going places and doing things. And Arizona has a lot less options. But the other name of the game is vacation rentals. This is one of the best vacation rental markets in the world. We have more vacation rentals in Sedona than probably anywhere else per capita in the US. We have something like 10,000 homes were built into a national forest, and the city counts at least 20%, but you can go by the rule of 2 or 3 when a city counts it. So we have a lot more of our homes that have become those Airbnbs, which are great for business. We have 4 times the amount of restaurants that we did in 2016. We have 50 or so operating restaurants when we used to have about 12 to 15 at any given time. Those things have added a lot of stress to our grocery store situation. You can see the Airbnb effect after a long weekend. I mean, if somebody wants to bake cookies inside of their vacation rental, they can't buy 8 ounces of flour. They have to buy the whole 5 pound bag. So then the rest of the people that live there, they got no choice
Yeah.
than left. So it has presented a lot of interesting things. And then that leads to employment, which for all of us in our businesses, it doesn't matter what business that you work in, unless you're an absolute solopreneur or a carpenter, like you're going to have to rely on other people. The last point I'll make to that is that Sedona is like a ski town, if you've ever been to a ski town, except our snow never melts and we don't have a huge corporation that is in there putting hundreds of millions of dollars every year into a hillside to make it a huge operating business. So it presents a real Wild West in a lot of ways. There's some families that have been here for a number of generations and they still work really hard at their businesses. But we're grateful to be here. We love Sedona. It's a fantastic place. I know you've been here. I hope a couple of your listeners will come out here too.
Yeah, no, highly recommended. How has the increase in short-term rentals impact your hotel business? You seem you seem to have a very positive outlook on how it's made an impact as a whole.
I would say it has proliferated the hotel business in the state of Arizona. And as a hotel owner, I proudly say, unfortunately, I have a lot of friends that are also hotel owners and also own short-term rentals, but it's not my thing. And I don't have anything against anybody who does. And Arizona has a lot of rules protecting businesses for that matter, but it has devastated our local economy. And there's
Mm.
no other singular source other than that.
Oh,
So that's the case. It's made a lot of money for a lot of people. Before COVID, you could buy a house for under 300,000. That's now worth 4 times that amount. And the
wow.
rental revenue that that house creates is in the hundreds of thousands. Some of those are literal slot machines that people hit. And those people deserve it. I mean, that's how business goes, right? So you can't hate
Right.
on that. On the inverse, though, so you brought up an interesting point, which I think sometimes business forces you to do things in a lot of ways. Also, you have to be nimble, you have to keep going, or you die, right? And somebody else crawls in underneath the remains of your shell, and then they start wearing it. And then they start operating the business, and he has a nice smile, and his name's Gideon, and he says, I'm looking for distressed real estate. So, you keep going. But here in food and beverage, it does present a big opportunity here now. We have a lot of fantastic restaurants that are dominated by a handful, maybe 6 or 7 restaurant groups. So you're talking 35, 40 businesses that are run by 5 or 6 different groups. It's not like we're in a place where we have 45 or 50 different businesses running here as far as food and beverage. We continue to look at that because we excel at breakfast, but breakfast is, how do you say it? It's included in what we do. So we just and you'll see when you come here, we have a very private setting, and we know as soon as we open up with liquor and bar, we're going to have a very popular situation because there's millions of people that want to come and drink and eat in Sedona now. But that leads us to the big question: is where do the people that work there come from? And
Yeah.
small towns, like I know you have some hotels in tourist towns, yeah.
Yeah.
And what's that like for you guys?
So, in our more remote, smaller towns, it can be more difficult, certainly, to find, especially the higher level performers like the GMs. We've been very, very fortunate. Actually, with our most recent purchase over in Solvang, California, it's about an hour and a half outside of LA,
Very,
45
very
minutes.
familiar with that. I used to live very
Yeah.
close by.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing spot, but it does have the small town feel of everybody knows everybody. If you're hiring a local GM, they've likely even like either worked at a neighboring hotel right next door or even worked at that hotel before when it was, our property. It was built in the mid 50s and it was actually the first motel in Solvang. So it's been around for a minute, and that's part of what we promote and
I've
push as a.
definitely ridden my bike by it for sure when I was
Yeah, it's the hotel that with the very large outdoor space, has
it's
actually
like a
2 large
Victorian
gardens.
flair, yeah.
Um, not as actually, I see what you're saying. Yeah, the garden space does
I
have a
built
slight
some Victorian buildings in my day in Los Angeles in this cool old neighborhood called Angelino Heights. It's like the largest collection of Victorian homes. So when you generally watch Victorian movie settings in the United States, it takes place in Angelino Heights. At the end of the street, they had the Fast and the Furious was filmed there at the liquor store.
Yeah.
So I do have a affection for some reason for Victorian buildings.
Yeah, that's a good eye. That's wild that you're familiar with it.
Well, I build, as I mentioned, and I've designed a lot of different things. And so the finishes we have here, we design, and that leads to another thing. And I think you can comment on it probably better than me more recently. But we did renovate our hotel here 10 years ago, and it is a remote location. It was a lot more remote than it seemed like, and we did our best to go with a local situation. We hired very locally, but we found that we paid about 3 times as much to get a third the quality we would in Los Angeles. So in the end, for the last 8 weeks, we brought resources in from California and just paid the difference because in the end, in a hotel, you need durability, you need reliance, you need
Mhm.
things that are going to last because otherwise you're going to keep chasing it. Now, again, it depends what your ADR is and who your guest is. But if you're charging over $400 or $500 a night, your guests generally 6 out of 10 live in a house that's worth more than $1 million.
Yep.
They know what to look for. they know how to go on LoopNet when they're in Sedona, Arizona. They know how to go on Crexy. A lot of people are in similar business. So we try and hard to deliver on that. And we picked some things that were a little bit unusual back in the day. We put tile on the floor in our hotel, and that dinged us back in the day because you couldn't get AAA diamond rating with tile. And so
Mm.
we forewent that at the beginning, but now 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, AAA changed that rating, and now we get a triple diamond rating. And there used to be that you had to have 6 or 5 inch molding. These are things that I know as a builder, having done a lot of different hotels, and so that's maybe part of the reason that we made choices here and the things that we did to try and achieve what we got.
Yeah, that makes sense. Hey, quick pause here. If you're getting value from these conversations, it would mean the world to me if you took 10 seconds right now to leave a 5-star review. Each review directly helps us reach more people who can benefit from these incredible conversations. And if you're looking to buy a hotel or invest in one of our deals, or even if you just want to say, hey, you can send us an email at hello@thehuntforincredible.com. We'd love to hear from you. Now back to the show. So let's pivot a bit to your development experience and your Sedona construction company. What was the genesis of that?
So we moved here a few years ago, and the genesis was to produce homes for sale. And I've built homes in California for a lot of people. I've built homes as a developer, going on, will be entering my third decade doing that from ground up and fix and flip. And I've built apartment buildings, that Angelino Heights neighborhood I was telling you about. I built a triplex there. And then as big as 100 units, over 10,000 square feet of retail. So the background's pretty high in construction. Younger in the career, around your age, we had a lot more people that worked directly for us, consider us more of a builder, like framing, concrete, terrazzo floors, plumbing. I heavily owned a electrical contracting company, so deep into the development. And then so that's in construction. And then here, we wanted to continue on that path and give it a best shot. And so Sedona's busy with construction, and you would have thought in the year 2025, when I set up that name, I've already been doing construction here for quite some time, but you would think somebody had the name Sedona Construction Company, but no, nobody did. So I took it, and so I don't. The first things we're building are not up here; they're a little bit further south in some of the surrounding towns, because Sedona's still expensive to build in for what it is. And the dollar for dollar, pound for where you're going to get out of a house, if you're going to be a speculative development, isn't always there. So I have some skills that are related to prefabricated construction and dealing with modular and boxes so that things can move a little bit quicker. And the hope for us is to be able to deliver more homes rather than build a Hollywood Hills home that I have the experience that sells for
Right.
multiple millions. We'd like to deliver 20 of those for the same value, so that 20 people that can afford a $500,000 home can live in that, versus doing the 1, 5, or 6 or $8 million home. It just takes a little bit of time to get going.
Now, was it the rapid appreciation of real estate in the market that you saw as the opportunity to start the construction company, or was it something else?
I mean, construction's a very, how do you say? I mean, it's one of the oldest industries, right? I mean, a carpenter gets paid to help somebody who's a shopkeeper build his house, going back to the olden days. Maybe the shopkeeper had groceries, so then they started bartering to break it really down. And then maybe the guy in the neighborhood had nails and he got eggs out of the deal. So up here, we do the same thing a lot in business. There's a lot of small town, like what you brought up in Solvang, and I know some people in Ballard, so I know that area really well. And we do a lot of bartering still in business up here too. We trade a lot, and I think that that's a whole, like, I call that commerce, which I think is a little bit different than business. And I think there's still a whole economy of working with people and giving and using what everybody has. But we get a lot of inquiries from people up here, for instance, that want to do, photo shoots and start their company on our property and all that different kind of stuff. And we just normally say yes if it's within reason, you know. But so going back to construction, it's a necessary thing. And for me, it's kind of also biblical, and it doesn't matter. I mean, if you read the first book where I end and then you keep going, what you don't use, you lose.
Yeah.
So I don't want to lose this. I want to use it. And so we're going to put it to work.
I love that. What relationships do you need to get plugged into to kick off a construction company in a market like that?
It's even having 2+ decades of high level experience in California. The thing that's nice, which again, you're going to be able to attest to, or anybody in business, is that it comes down to people. So the relationships are really important, right? I apologize. I thought I had all my little things
You're
turned on
good.
my computer, but it's been an interviewing process, and it's also been that patience in life where you got to just go at one day at a time, because you can't go any faster than that. And then when you look back and 6 months have passed away, I mean, the time is gone. So you'll be becoming a dad soon, I understand,
Hmm.
and you're going to enjoy that. And as your kids get a little bit older, you'll start to see how the time is a little bit more quickly moving, and then you put a little bit more value to it. So I've just had a lot of patience with that. And uh, and so, but you need to understand what you're doing. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble. Ground up construction is not for a novice in any ways, because unless you have a big pile of cash, you're going to be dealing with a very big shark that's going to lend you money. And they know what they're doing. That's why they're
Right.
lending you the money at that big. So I would suggest that everybody be very careful with that. I still having experience in lending and finance, I've still in my situation, I've come across quite a few situations with very terrible people that are involved in lending, and I'm sure you've heard the stories the same, and that can make or break a deal. So I would say that's been I would have a lot of gratitude for having an experience in lending, and being patient in lending, and then deciding what you want to do and what you're good at. If you don't know how to build ground up, I wouldn't necessarily get into that right away. If you don't know how to fix and flip, I wouldn't necessarily get into that right away. If you're working a job and you're used to getting an income, that income goes away pretty quickly when you stop getting it. So I would probably try and replace that income to its full dollar plus 20% before I started doing anything speculative, so that you feel comfortable. If you're really looking to rely on that income, because everything else is about what your risk tolerance is, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. And that's why I tell people all the time, if you are getting into the space, this is the first time and you are interested in buying commercial value add or development, the number one thing you should do right out the gate, other than like make sure that your cash reserves are good and that you have income, etc. But the number one thing you want to do is find somebody who's already succeeded in that space and who has an excellent track record. It's a big reason why we started the community, to add value to people. And really the whole model is designed around what every single person should do, whether it's in commercial real estate or even tech or marketing, whatever business it is. If you don't have experience in that thing, obviously the risk is going to be significantly higher. And one of the best ways to de-risk that step is to partner with somebody who has the track record, who has the experience, and then you can split that however you want. You can invest your time as sweat equity, and they bring in the capital and experience. You can slice that pie a few different ways, but either way, the number one step I always recommend anybody takes when getting into the space is finding somebody who's done it before, and then collaborate with them, build rapport with them, bring them deals if you know what type of deals they're interested in, so that you're directly adding value to them, because you don't want to be a charity case to them. And yeah, slowly build from there.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. I mean, the people is really important. Who you're in the room with, you hear that a lot, and then who you call when you have troubles or when you have a situation that you need advice on. I mean, there's always going to be people that are there to celebrate with you. I mean, if you're in a celebratory mood, most people, I mean, depends how you celebrate. I mean, some people celebrate big, some people celebrate in quiet. So I think it's also who's there for you in those darkest hours. And then you also, aside from the other people, you have to go after yourself, because if you don't rise to the level of the people that you get in the room, you're not going to be able to stay there. I mean, you can go have dinner for one night, you can hang, but eventually you're going to have your spaghetti hanging out of your mouth, and they're going to know what's going down. And just like you don't want to be like a charity case in that situation, neither do you from the people that you're getting advice from. I mean, I think age, even though people want to say that a lot of young people can really do it, I mean, there is something about being older. I mean, you just
Yeah.
see more things like economics, politics, different things. It's just time. So I think having a great mentor or different mentors in your career for where you're at and different times to help you lead through different things are fantastic. I mean, that's the teachers of who you have. And then what you read beyond that is also a huge deal. I'm sure you hear that often, but you got to keep working on those two things.
Yeah, 100%. Adam, we're definitely going to have to set up a round two. I'm sure there's a lot more to dive into. We're on some time constraints given schedules, but I do want to spend the remaining minutes on this question. What do you feel? So, for some context, here at the Hunt for Incredible, we believe that questions are the answer. So, what question do you believe people need to ask themselves or others to be successful in the space?
I mean, what do you want? What do you really want? What do you want? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? Those are the things that matter because in the end, the process is going to make something of you. And who do you want to become? Who do you want to be like? Who do you spend time around? Who, what, when, and where? And then real estate is always location, 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 right? So coming to you live from the Creekside Inn, I mean, where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? I mean, those things are really important. I think it sounds broad, but unless you answer those at a very core position and then set goals behind them and then plans for each one of those goals, you can't answer it.
Yeah.
So, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be around? What does it look like at the end of the game? Because I'm a few years older than you. I mean, it goes forward.
Mhm.
Otherwise, somebody like you comes in and takes it from you.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point because it's a question that seems so simple and it's so easy to feel like you already know that, but 99.9% of people have never stopped and actually thought quietly to themselves, what am I doing that is actually because somebody else wants it versus because I want it? So
Like, do
like
you
even
want
asking this,
work your tootsie off all day, or you're about to have a kid? Do you want to spend more time around your kid? Do you want to have stacks of money? What is it that's really going to drive you to where you need to go?
yeah,
And it could
yeah.
change. You're going to change.
Yeah, 100%. And you should change, right? You should change as you learn more and discover. I regularly practice the 60-year rule where I will stop in a quiet room with either just like my notepad or my own thoughts, and I will ask myself what I will close my eyes and envision that I'm 60 years into the future, reflecting on where I am now, reflecting on my story, and thinking about what I'm proud of that I did and what my story looked like. And I'm always thinking about that version of me 6 years down the road because I'm not just making decisions for me today. I'm making decisions for every iterative version of me moving forward. And so I'm constantly trying to empathize and speculate with what 100-year-old Gid is going to like look back on and be proud of, how he's thankful that his regret was mitigated, what risks he's glad he took. And that's made a big impact on me asking, like, who am I? Like, what do I actually want? Not just what did my parents want of me? What did my friends want of me? Like, what are the expectations that I'm trying to live up to that aren't even my own? Like, what do I actually want to define for myself? Because in a couple 100 years, nobody will remember that we were even here anyway. And not to be morbid or negative, I view that in a positive light to say, you can take whatever risks you want, send it as hard as you can, literally go as big as possible with no regrets, no concern of how embarrassed you might look or what people will think, because you know that literally no matter what happens, like at the end of the day, you're the one who has to deal with your own life at the end of it. So you want to
Got
make sure that you're proud of what that looks like.
to look in the mirror. I'm gonna finish for you because I know you got to run, but you hit the nail on the head, and I'm gonna give big ups to a guy. You talk about where do you want to go, who do you want to do, what do you want to do with your life. Last summer, we took our daughter. We were lucky enough to take her to Greece, and I met a very, very nice gentleman from England, Simon Stallard, chef, entrepreneur, interesting guy. If I'm not mistaken, his name's Sir Simon Stallard, but I could be off. But anyway, you don't know you're going to meet somebody. We went on an enchanted day to an enchanted lunch in Greece in a village you would never dream of. And at the end of the day, we're sitting overlooking the beautiful sea. And this man from England, who I haven't known so long, he looks at me and he starts telling me, on the English countryside, these families are thinking between 2 and 500 years. And here in the US, sometimes we can't think like 2 and 5 days in front of us. And I thought that that was really mind blowing. So I call that the Stalard Plan. I mean, 2 to 500 years. I mean, you're talking like how they have it, castles and the whole
Yeah.
thing. Like, how does it play? Like, how far along? How out are you looking?
Yeah. I love
So,
it, man. I
yeah,
love
let's
it.
talk again soon, man.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to hop on again. Adam, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been an absolute blast.
Have a great day.
You too.